Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today we have a very special guest, author Kate Gateley. With a BA in Linguistics and a BS in Physiology from the University of Saskatchewan, Kate Gateley has always been fascinated by history, Celtic ideology, ancestral memory and generational wounding, and the divine feminine. Those personal studies continue to influence every aspect of her life on the pages of her books and off. When Kate published her first book, Tides of the Sovereign, book one of the Lost Wells trilogy, she knew that it was only the beginning of a story she has always wanted to write, one with heart and meaning that was actually worth sharing. In December 2022, Tides of the Sovereign was announced as the winning title in the fantasy sci-fi category of the Canadian Book Club Awards. Continuing now in book two, Mantle of the World Ruler, and beyond into the next volume still to come, that story has grown far beyond what she could ever have imagined, into something that she dearly hopes can one day find and deserve a cherished spot among those volumes of both contemporary fantasy and historical romance that so inspired her growing up. Kate currently lives and writes on a small farm in the Cowichan Valley on beautiful Vancouver Island with her amazing husband, two incredible sons, an adorable dog, several barn cats who don't earn their keep, and some decidedly ungrateful chickens, all of whom are very dearly loved. Thank you for being here with us today, Kate.
We know everything about Kate.
I know.
Podcast interview over.
I know.
Thank you.
I know. My first question was going to be, tell us about yourself, but I feel like the intro.
What's your blood type? Where were you, what's your favorite
I'm an Aries.
pasta?
It's my season.
What's Aries season look like?
Aries season? Oh, I'm excited. My birthday's coming up in a couple weeks, so it's we're looking at a polycon. We're meeting new people. We're having fun. We're partying. We're having cocktails. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So, do Aries always party, or is that just what you're doing this month?
Oh, I think it's like partying with intention. You know, like you're elevated, but you're like also have a goal in mind all the time. I've got friends. Most of my friends are Sagittarius, and they're just partying for fun. But I'm very you know, doing it with energy.
Well, and I'm a Cancer, so if I'm partying with you, you better feel real special.
Yeah, well, I've got a Cancer moon, so we're going to be good. We're gonna be totally good.
Great.
Can I ask about your farm? Is it like a homesteading farm? What do you guys do with the land besides chickens and animals?
Yeah. So Vancouver Island is really rocky, and it's not agricultural like the prairies are. I'm going to speak from Canadian perspective, but like I'm from Saskatchewan, so that's prairies, that's farms, that's, you know, wheat, and we're on a hobby farm. We can see the ocean from our house, kind of. So we just hatched on Sunday some goslings. So I've got like couple-day-old goslings right now, and we've got chickens. I beekeep, so we've got bees, and
that's cool.
My kids run around, and they're free range too, so. It's good. Yeah. It's not profitable. It's just for fun.
My cousin is a beekeeper down in Florida. And she travels around basically the Panhandle area, like selling honey and beeswax and stuff. It's really cool.
I'm very hobby. And then I started the hobby, and you know, a couple years into it, I realized I developed like a severe bee allergy. So I'm a severely allergic beekeeper. So I get monthly venom shots.
You're like, the honey's great, but I could die.
Yeah. So I go every month to my doctor to get venom shots, so I don't lose the hobby. Yeah.
You're really,
it's worth
living
it.
on the edge.
Incredible, but it's a little scary, but they're pretty cool.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So when you're not almost dying,
I know.
We'd love to chat a little bit about, you know, how long you've been writing, what made you want to be an author, what did your journey look like to get there, all of that good stuff.
Yeah. So interestingly, I've always obviously loved reading, as writers do. I feel like, you know, as a young, like, you know, preteen / up to puberty, I was like, I want to write, I want to create. I had lots of insomnia as a kid, and I would like to get myself through the nights. I would just imagine stories, and you know, went into science. I have a physiology degree. I didn't love that, wasn't for me. I switched into linguistics, liked that a lot more. But by the time I was done my linguistics degree, my husband was transferring for law out to Vancouver Island, so we moved out here and had babies, bought a farm, and and I've always had these stories inside me, and you know, I'm somebody who's had like, you know, a ton of education and a lot of jobs, and I have a million hobbies, and just nothing ever felt it was like sustainable long term. And then the pandemic hit and I had little kids and I was just like, oh man, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yes. That's how we all felt.
As you do.
I felt like everyone's kids were young during the pandemic. No one's kids were older and able to take care of themselves, right?
Mine were, and I still felt that way.
Well, and like they're in that small phase. And so my youngest was like 18 months when the pandemic hit. And we were just moving to that, like we could start going to like groups. And then it was like, no, you can't go to anything.
Oh my God.
So, it was brutal. So
my youngest had just turned 1. So I feel you. We're in the same boat.
And you're just like, I'm free. No, I'm not free at all.
It was a big bummer.
Right. Yeah. And my little guys, like they nursed for a long time. And so my little guy breastfed for up to 2 years. And then I was like, we were both done. And 5 days after I weaned him, the book just started pouring out of me. So it was very much like my energy shifted from heavy nurturance to like nurturing this story instead. And it was a story I've had with me forever. It's always been there, but I've never been able to give it the love it needed. And all of a sudden it was just like, that's it. I'm writing this. Time to go.
And that's the cool. Lost Wells trilogy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. I'm really excited to learn more about these books.
Okay. So I was listening to some of your podcasts from this season, and one of the exciting things to let you know is character in their 30s, no age gap.
Yes.
Normal age gap.
Yes. Thank you.
She's
Thank
a
you,
positively
Kate.
sexual
I was going to say she's not a virgin, right? Like
not, my husband's like, she's had mileage. I was like, excuse me. I don't know if I describe it like that.
Yeah. Okay. Tell your husband
Different
that if it's a
verbiage.
guy, it's not called mileage. So don't call it that for a woman either.
And he was
Right.
like, well, we can't say that if you're a dude. But no, he edits all my books, so he's totally Team Julia. But yeah, so she's in her 30s and she's like finishing a degree and she's not happy, and very similar to my experience, like don't know what you want to do and never felt like she like everything just felt kind of off. And so we're spoilers, right? We can do spoilers.
Oh, of course.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So she goes to she's doing linguistics because right, you know, and linguistics does not get enough credit in the university world. You know, linguistics is so interesting, but they're always very small colleges and stuff.
Right.
And so I wanted her to have that. And she meets this professor, and he's like, you know, Irish Jamie Fraser, pretty much. Like he's hot.
Well, okay.
He's big. He's
so
strong,
I don't know the difference between an Irish and a Scottish accent. So to me, he still sounds like the normal Jamie Fraser.
No, it's different. So there's like the Irish accent doesn't have the rhotic, right? Like, so you don't have the like rolling R's, and you have the,
Okay.
you know, obviously there's huge variants in Ireland, but this is one of my nerd things.
I was going to say, this is your nerdiest thing of the week.
One of them.
Obviously, you're into linguistics, which I love.
Yeah, accents. I can't do them.
Oh, okay. Because you know I was about to put you on the spot. And
I was waiting for you to ask her.
Can you show me the difference, Whit?
No.
I mean, in my head, I can hear it.
So for the record, I just want to say out loud that I do understand that there are huge cultural and, different things about Irish and Scottish people. I was really joking, but for me being like this, very American person,
Yeah.
it's hard for me to really hear in my head what the difference is. But if it was on TV, I'd be like, oh, that's Irish and oh, that's Scottish.
Yeah.
So, Scottish listeners, I don't want you to think we suck. Sorry.
I feel like Irish accent has a lot more in common with my like Central Canadian. Like
Okay,
there's
yeah.
again that sort of like softer, like,
More
we don't
French.
quite have a lilt, but it's just a little more like the vowels are open, and like it's just slightly different. I feel like a Scottish accent has just a harder
Yeah, Scottish
general delivery.
Scottish language accent, whatever, sounds a lot more similar to German.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
So
guttural,
when
yeah.
you look at like Diana Gabaldon, like she chose to write in the Scottish accent into the dialogue.
Right.
I
yeah.
consciously chose not to write
Thank
the
you.
accent into the dialogue.
Because I
partly
will tell
because it's
you,
annoying.
If I hadn't watched the show first, I would not have been able to read the books, and it was just because I wouldn't have understand some of those pronunciations, right? And like what they're actually trying to say.
I mean, she does it really consistently.
She does. She's
Credit
really good at it.
It's
too.
consistent.
Yeah.
But it's a bit distracting. And for me, an Irish accent is more about, like you'd say something like, oh, absolutely. And like there's this real, like, just the way
Oh
the
my
language
God.
is used. It's just,
That was. Will you do
That
that
was
again?
well, no. Well, I'll tell you, I've got a story for you about that if you want. I was trying to, when I started writing, I was trying to figure out my process, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll try like voiceover. And like, I have a bit of a lisp. I don't know if you're picking up on it. Like, I don't
Not
love
at
my
all.
voice. And I was like, maybe I'll just do voice memos while I'm driving because my kids are really small. And I was like, if I have ideas. And I was doing this scene where I was sort of explaining Donal talking about It was like a sexy scene, and I said the word panties with an Irish accent into my phone, and then I had to dictate it.
Can we hear what that sounds like?
No.
Well, good, because mine might have fallen off if you had.
Such a gross word. I don't know why I said it. Like, it was just like, oh, I shouldn't use that word in writing, but it was like I was just learning how to sort of see if I could like dictate to myself, and that was the last time I ever dictated to myself.
That is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Well, and so I'm sorry.
I'm turning red. Like, it isn't.
We're getting off on a crazy tangent here. I hope you don't mind. But so what word do you think is better than panties when you write? Undergarments?
Underwear.
But here's the thing. I think of undergarments or underwear being like long johns. And when I think of really nice underwear, I think panties, right? I think panties can be very sexual and sensual. And, if he's like, hey, take off your panties, that's different than she was wearing red lace panties, right? Yeah. So I think there's a place for that word.
It feels a bit juvenile to me. Like, it feels like a word that I don't use as an adult. Like, just
that's true.
Maybe it's like colloquial. Like, maybe I just don't use that word as with
maybe it's a US word.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It could be, because like I use it and I feel a little like that's a really, whereas I like my undies, lingerie, thong, like using underwear, thong.
Yeah. Lingerie. There we go. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. And obviously I'm not a writer. So.
Well, it's one of those words that everyone has a feeling about, I think. So
Right. Okay, so your main character is in her 30s. She wears undergarments. And
she wears undergarments, yeah.
And her the love interest has an Irish accent.
He's Irish.
Okay, he's Irish.
Yeah, so he's a couple years older than her, and she's like weirdly drawn to him, and it doesn't make any sense, and like she's kind of awkward and bumbling, and typical like I'm into this guy but not sure how to handle him, and he feels really mysterious. And long story short, it turns out they have been being reborn through a curse for the last 1,000 years, and they've been lovers, throughout millennia. The clinch there is that he's maintained the memories and she hasn't. She used to remember, and over time it's sort of faded. And they have sort of two separate curses, and it goes into how she gets sent back, and then he has to like follow using druidic magic. I've like tons of like Irish and British Isles type mythology, and it's sort of woven into a contemporary scene there. So he knows who she is. And he's sort of going through a moral dilemma, like, because this is, going on for 1,000 years, like, she's obviously so wonderful and so smart. Like, do I tell her? Is it worth it? And he's got this tattoo on his back that holds the memory that she put there. And it's the same as the tree on the front of all the books. Spoilers, all three of the books will have the same oak tree on them, tree of life. And so they have this kind of moment where she doesn't know that he knows that she's a witch or a bear. So I've invented a magic system that's sort of completely unique to me, still leans on a lot of the things that we all expect. And they have this sort of moment where they're on a hot date, and she's like, she's going to get it in. Like, she's stoked. She's like, this is going to be great. And then they go home, and he's like, I've got to tell you this really difficult thing.
You're like, you couldn't tell me after we got it on? Like,
right?
That's really great pillow talk. Hey, you know how I just blew your mind? It's because we're fated mates. Like,
surprise. Yeah, so it happens before, and then so they spend the first, and it is one of those series, like, and I heard you on your previous podcast talk about some fantasy novels have to build it, and it is one we have to build. I grew up reading a ton of sort of Tolkien and those types of things where I want to build a world that lets the characters breathe a bit, and Julia's got complexity, and so we spent some time getting to know each other, and they're on Salt Spring Island, so I can see it from my house, kind of. It's coastal, very west coast, and then they end up in Ireland eventually, and she sort of comes to terms, and and it goes from there. So the first book is very living the way they used to live, and then so book 2 is like, spoilers, now that the prophecy, because there's a massive prophecy attached to it all, obviously fantasy things. Book 2 is like, it's broken, so what's next? And that was fun to write, because I got to get out of the box I even created for them. And
That's awesome. That's really exciting.
Like, definitely what makes me want to read, for sure.
Yeah, I would say, like, if you like Outlander and can tolerate the sort of, I feel like I'm contemporary, so it makes it a bit easier. And like A Discovery of Witches and Outlander, kind of there's details. It's thoughtful. It take your time kind of reading, but it's make you cry when you're done because you miss the characters kind of reading, I think. I hope.
I had a friend tell me today that she's finishing a series. The series isn't complete yet, but the author's not done, right? And she said, I think I'm going into a really bad book hangover. And I'm like, I'm not even sorry. That's great. Because she didn't read series like this before. And so the fact that she loves it means a lot to me. Because you can ask Whitney when they don't take my book recommendations and they're like, I'm reading this other thing. I'm like, oh, really? How's that?
Yeah.
It's like,
a book hangover?
Slapping my kid or something.
I feel like a book hangover is one of those things that make it worth it being human. Like, we get to have this privilege of this, like, absolutely, like, anguishing cognitive experience, and it's so moving. And, like, when I finished, and, like, arguably I've reread them twice now, Discovery of Witches, and, you know, I have feelings about the books. I like them, but I was, like, bawling in my shower when I finished. I was like, oh, my God, the characters! Like,
now, what do you think of the show, Kate?
I don't love the show.
Yeah, it was a little rushed.
It was rushed.
You didn't feel the slow burn. You didn't really feel his, like, almost like hunger for her. And, you know,
right?
they didn't.
He wasn't, I mean, I love Matthew Good.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Love Matthew Good. But I feel like they didn't give him the lines he needed. Like, I was like, this guy can actually act.
I'm like
let's
he
give
never,
him...
before they, like, fall in love, there's no swoon-worthy moments in the show. You're just like, okay, well, he's cute. I guess that's fine. Right? So, yeah, but the books are really cool.
Disappointing. Like, I don't think I finished it. I don't think I finished it.
DNF the Discovery Witches show.
DNF the show. I finished the book. I audiobooked it. The audiobook is fantastic.
Okay, I'll have to listen to that. I love audiobooks.
But the Times Convert, like the fourth one, the audiobook is terrible. They switched narrators and it's no good.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, his accent changed? Like his French.
That's weird.
That is odd.
It was awesome. I don't even know. You can test it for yourself. I'm warning you in advance.
Is the trilogy in audio format yours?
Yeah, so I'm working on that. So the first one is out. And then obviously the accents were super fun with that. My narrator is, she's out of England. She's from Bristol. I was trying to find a Canadian actor that could do the UK and Ireland accents. And I just wasn't finding that. So I found an actor that could do my accent. Nice. So we worked together linguistically and we did all kinds of recordings, and I had a bunch of my friends do recordings, and we did the Harvard sentences and stuff. And her name's Frankie Porter, and she learned it. Like, there's a few things I noticed, but only because I'm linguistic-y. Like, I don't.
That would be a lot of pressure to know that someone had a degree in linguistics and you were doing audio for them. I would be like,
oh no, she's great. We were good. We collaborated really well. My big thing I've learned through this process is, especially being independently published, like I really jive with people I can collaborate with. Like, that's where the magic, like that's the juicy spot. So, you know, when we had that sort of natural cohesion, it was like, we're good to go. So she's starting book 2 now.
I can't wait.
And there's some new accents and stuff. Yeah.
So I know you kind of sat on this idea for a while and then finally got to realize it. Is this like contemporary fantasy? Is that what you see yourself mostly writing, or do you have other things you like to write? Is this your favorite kind of story to tell?
I definitely think contemporary anything, because I'm not a world builder. Like, I'm totally a pantser. A little bit of plotting. Like, I make sure that there's, like, you know, regular narrative structure, but pantser. Like, I jump all over the place, and you can't do that in the high fantasy. I would go into. I've thought about, like, not read a lot of mystery or anything like that, but I love the idea of mystery or speculative or like sort of like, I love my favorite thing is, you know, I have a lot of background of going to therapy and EMDR and, like, you know, childhood, ancestral, whatever, trauma and stuff. And I try to alchemize everything I've learned through that into my writing. So I'm curious how that will look as I age, projecting that into
I'm getting ready to do EMDR actually. So that's interesting.
It's pretty rad, but it's pretty scary too.
Yeah, I'm very nervous about it, but it's necessary, and I feel kind of excited about the end result.
It's changed my life.
Yeah. So is that also the kind of stories you like to read, or do you like other genres? What do you find yourself curling up with?
Curling up with, well, if I'm going to listen to anything, I listen to a lot of psychology books, not curling up, more like running through my house doing things. No curling up.
I'm just going to cozy up with a psychology book over here.
No, thank you.
When I'm writing, I try not to read in my genre. Just not because I suck it up, but I just, like, I feel like I get imposter syndrome too easily. Like I'm like,
Sure.
oh, this is really
Well,
good.
I think I would get confused. Like I would be like, oh wait, what am I writing or reading? Like, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so my TBR pile is all these sort of like awesome adult fantasy books that are very popular right now that I just like haven't touched. Like I haven't read Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I'm like, that book is waiting
it's a
for me
really
when I'm
wonderful
done.
book. Yeah, you should just message us and go, okay, here's 5, new adult fantasy books, and we'll be like, bam, 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 bam. Because I just said I get offended if you don't take my point of view.
No, I'll give you the ones I have, and you can tell me what order.
But Addie LaRue is a great place to start.
Yes,
it really is.
When I finish book 3, I have a summer ahead of me of reading all the books that I want and not feeling like susceptible to all this stuff because of what do I read now? So I have a Kindle and I have a hot tub, and it's a water resistant Kindle.
Nice.
So honestly, I read a lot of Katie Robert.
Oh yeah,
like totally. I love me some monster.
I love Katie Robert. Yeah,
you know why she's so good? For my opinion, she writes consent so powerfully.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm not a dark romance reader. I don't like the lack of consent stuff and the trigger warning stuff. It's not for me, but
I'm with you.
She writes consent in the most like hot way.
She writes consent in pardon my language. I hope you don't mind if we cuss, but you have to listen to some episodes.
Oh yeah.
She writes consent in a like, well, fuck yeah, why wouldn't you kind of way? Like, you know what I mean? You're like you're dumb if you say no right now, honey. But if you do say no, he's gonna be cool with it. That's what's so nice about her writing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And she's so concise and she's so different. Like I'm very, not flowery, but like I got lots of details and verbose, and I love reading Katie's stuff because it's like just to the point. You rip through a book, and I would argue I have hyperlexia, so if I read a book, I can probably read it like very quickly. And her books are quick, but I'm not disappointed. I'm just like, yummy, that was great.
Her narrators are really good too. I like her narrators a lot.
Okay,
listen to her books.
I should audio her. I usually Kindle it, but
yeah, she has a man and a woman that she uses pretty consistently. That I really, really like.
Cool. Okay, that's my next.
So what kind of fandoms are you a part of, or what other nerdy things besides nerding out about linguistics and psychology books? What other nerdy things are you into?
Nerdy things. I mean, I think I'm just a big nerd across the board. I would say I'm like a special interest person, sort of neurodivergent brain. I mean, you want books or do you want life? Like my
sure,
pets.
all of it.
Total dog mom. Like, you want to know about my dogs? Like I'll tell you all about them. You want to know about chickens? I'll tell you all about, like, I deep dive into like, the core of things. And I'm that person, like when I'm watching a show and there's a celebrity, I'll be like, oh, I need to know everything about them. So I'll be like watching the show and I'm like Googling everything about them.
I do that too.
Here's the thing. Right? Whitney and I need to know if you've been following Scandival or not.
Scandival?
Oh yeah. Do you know Vanderpump Rules? It's a trashy reality show.
No, but I'm
okay. If you want to get down a rabbit hole, I've never even watched the show, and whenever all this stuff happened in real life with these actresses and actors, I was in bed for 2 hours, like just clicking art articles, and then you click and click, and you're like, "You son of a bitch!" And it's like you know these people.
You're committed.
Yeah,
I'm in the rabbit hole. But I've got my backpack. We're gonna do it.
Yeah, make sure you're in the hot tub and you have a glass of wine because it's going to take you a while.
Yeah, it might make you feel some feelings.
Yeah, no, I would say yeah. So I mean, like, growing up, I was that kid in grade 7 that was like, I'm reading Lord of the Rings, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? And then I was obviously Harry Potter was huge, and I mean obviously J.K. Rowling now, but
yes,
as a kid it was like, right, like we know that, but as a kid it was so important, and like I was there at like the launches at midnight in a house elf costume buying the books, and that was, I would say that's not a fandom I'm in now, by choice, but also just sort of moving past it. But
sure,
that was huge for me. I mean, I'm the same age as all the actors from the movies, pretty much. Like, I'll be 34 in April. I think Dan Radcliffe is 34 in July. I mean, and the fact that I know that says that I was very involved in the fandom. Owning myself.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, now, like, I don't even know. Like I'm just like anything that gets me interested, I'll sort of deep dive into it. I listen to a lot of cult podcasts, but not true crime, cults.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah.
fascinating. There's a difference. It's just like you don't have that sort of trauma response to it. Essentially.
Whitney did a really cool deep dive on Jim Jones on an upcoming episode that we have, and it's like you're listening to it, and it's like you know these things, and then you're done, and you're like, I need
a shower,
and a glass of wine because he is a horrible person.
Yeah. He was.
So book 2, there's a character called Kenzie, and I based her off of Allison Mack from the Nexium stuff.
Oh,
yeah, like
wow.
roughly, you know. Yeah, she's got that Allison Mack energy, and she's, you know, So I was like, I saw her, I started following all that, and I was like, oh my God. And it's very much about how my books are quite feminist and quite, you know, like obviously my antagonist is the patriarchy. He's Roman, he's white, you know, and, you know, we don't
they all
right? And you know, just everything about him, and so to have that sort of cultish aspect and have that compare, and so having a female. When I was watching all the stuff with Allison Mack, I was like, you are betraying us, sister. Like, you're not on the same side. And it really bothered me. So how I've written is that, so the magic system is the bearers are not necessarily female gendered, but like female identifying magic users, which like witches, right? But sort of tying it into Celtic mythology and using my own words for it. And so, you know, this character, Kenzie, like she betrayed the women and very much how Allison Mack, like she betrayed all these women, and it was very so kind of
feels so much worse.
I often
I often
alchemize the things that are sort of like uncomfortable to me into the writing, so I can move them through me and out, and hopefully help other people.
Before we move on a little bit, I do need to ask, since we're talking about nerdy things, and because you're from Canada, are you at all a hockey fan?
You know what? I'm that blasphemous Canadian that is not a hockey fan.
Mindy.
But I live in Duncan, or I live in Couching Bay, but Duncan currently has the world's largest hockey stick. So I drive past the world's largest hockey stick a couple times a week.
Add that to my bucket list.
I feel like that's just a euphemism.
I'm like, I know how living in Kentucky, we don't have a team or anything, but I'm a huge hockey fan. And of course, these girls are like, why? You know, like, I think I grew up more with CFL. Like football was big. Okay.
Like so so I'm from Saskatchewan, and there is no hockey team in Saskatchewan. Like,
right.
Alberta has 2. Winnipeg off and on has the Jets and stuff. Saskatchewan doesn't, but we have the Rough Riders, and that's a cult.
Okay.
Like that is a cult. I've never seen one. And now I'm on Vancouver Island, and like there's BC Lions, and I feel like I get more influenced by. I mean, it's not to say I don't like hockey. It's just not my.
It's just not, you don't follow it.
Thing.
It's not a nerdy thing for you, but like it is.
Not a nerdy thing for me. It's very much present up here, though.
Did you know there's a whole like side of like hockey smut books?
Yeah,
like it's a big thing right
hockey
now.
Romance.
Yeah,
I haven't tapped into that yet. I did read The Wall of Winnipeg in me.
It's hot though, seriously.
Which was like getting into sports romance. I dabbled. I didn't dislike it. I think I don't know if I'm going to read smut. It's probably going to be like months. Like, you know, I started Ice Planet Barbarians recently, and like, you know,
that's like really high on my TBR to read that.
It's delightful. It's delightful. And spoilers, often my husband will be like, he wants to read something. I'm like, read this too. It's delightful.
Well, because my husband edits the podcast, sometimes he'll come to me and he'll go, so you're into that, huh? And I'm like, I guess so.
Guilty.
Well, so now we're going to go into a couple of speed rounds. The first one is our nerdy and dirty speed round. So I'm going to give you some prompts, and we want you to just answer. Don't think about it. Just whatever pops into your head. There are no right or wrong answers, but if we agree, we'll tell you correct. So first up, favorite cocktail or mocktail?
Tequila with lime and soda.
Yum.
Classic.
Yes.
Favorite fandom?
I wouldn't say it's a fandom, but I have this absolutely deep forever love for Downton Abbey.
Yeah, that's a fandom for sure.
Yeah, no,
is it a fandom?
Oh,
I went to a movie in the theater, and there was like 10 people there. The first movie when it came out, it's from a small town. And I was like squealing with delight, and everyone's like, "Who's this lady?" Like getting stoked. I was like,
They weren't real fans then.
No, they weren't. I was the only fan.
Most binge-worthy TV?
Ted Lasso, and I'm really frustrated they're doing weekly episodes right now.
Yeah. I haven't started season 3 yet, but I love Ted Lasso.
Well, maybe wait for a bit so you can binge it, because like it's Wednesdays today. And I'm like, oh, take last one out today.
Yeah. Guilty pleasure.
Oh, probably drive-through burgers.
Yes.
Right? Like,
Book
little kids are like, hit the burger.
Yeah.
a book character you would get nerdy and dirty with.
Aragorn.
Oh,
Nice.
that is a very excellent choice. Correct.
Yeah.
Team,
Right? I got the answer right for that one.
Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Except for in the last book.
You said Edward except for the last book?
No, Jacob,
Jacob.
but not in the last book.
Yeah,
gotcha.
where he's
The
a
whole
level 10
thing I couldn't
clinger.
do it.
Yeah, he gets a little
Yeah.
weird, right?
But he's like super rad in the first few books.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who is your book boyfriend or book bestie?
I mean, probably Jamie Fraser.
That's
a good
excellent
one.
choice.
But
yeah.
but I would say, my character, my main male character, Donal, he's probably also him. But then as I've been writing him, I'm realizing he's actually very much my masculine. Like I'll be writing and like my husband does the first round of edits for me and he'll be like, I'm on Julia's side. And I'm like, no, I'm totally on Don's side. So I can't really say like boyfriend because I'm like, is he me as a boy or is it my, like, the mirror image?
It's self-love.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Yeah. And that's great, right?
Yeah.
Book girlfriend or book bestie?
Great in my books. But for other books, I really love Poppy and Serafina.
Yes.
Also
I really
correct.
I get their frustration and I get their like, feeling trapped and I get their like want for liberation and also like, these dudes are so powerful and they're just like, ugh. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Relatable.
So I relate with them. Yeah, for sure. I feel like we could have a good chat over beers and like snacks. And stuff.
We've
Yeah,
already
for
like
sure.
been setting up with other Imaginarium authors. We're like, we're just going to make a restaurant reservation and just tell everyone where we're going and everyone can just come after day one. I'm like, we should all
do
just drink
it.
together. That'd be so much fun.
I'm coming out by myself. So
Okay.
I'm gonna need friends.
All right.
Definitely, yes.
Well, I
Where are your
think
friends?
we have some things in common with
Yeah.
you, so we can make that
For
happen.
sure. Yeah.
Go take care of me.
We will. Well, and who was it from Australia that we talked to?
Kaya.
Yeah, Kaya.
Oh, yeah.
And she's awesome. And like, she's like, I need some people to go out and drink with. And we were like, us,
We
please.
can. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Well, I'm
volunteer
staying
tribute.
downtown, so you take me where you want to go.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Smut or plot?
Okay. Smut when I'm writing, plot when I'm not writing.
Nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Favorite childhood book
Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings.
and favorite cereal?
I don't know if you have this in the States. Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
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 Excellent choice.
Yeah. I mean, obesity
not
is
Captain
epidemic
Crunch.
here. Of course we have that.
Okay, good. Yeah. Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Okay, so we're going to do hot or not. Same rules as fast as you can, okay?
Yep.
Pedro Pascal.
Hot.
Thank you.
No.
No, daddy.
Yes.
We just send her daddy videos all day long.
Total daddy. Total daddy.
Miley Cyrus.
Hot, but I saw a reel recently. Her voice sounds like a zipper, and it does.
Yes. It's
Yeah, her voice is horrible.
Yeah.
But she's a total babe.
Yeah. Tessa Thompson.
Oh, gorgeous. Totally hot.
Paul Rudd.
Oh, contrary. I don't love Paul Rudd.
Okay. Well, I did a really funny reel yesterday using some like a voiceover that he did. You'll have to go back and watch it because if you do think he's cute, you won't think he's cute after that. It's gross.
I had to go because I love Paul Rudd. I had to go Google sexy pictures of Paul Rudd after I watched it because it was so
You
bad.
did not. That's
I
hilarious.
definitely did.
I need to
Okay.
rewire this. Oh my god. No, I mean, like, I feel like Paul would be a great guy to have a conversation with. But
He'd be fun
don't
to
feel like
have
he's fun.
beers with, but yeah, I think he's just cute.
I don't know why.
Or
I
like
think he's so
barbecue
hot.
with. I don't know. He feels like he'd be
He's like a
nice to hang
nerdy
out with,
hot.
like in the sunshine.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Nice guy.
Okay. Touch her or die tropes, or touch her and die tropes.
I love it.
Oh, I do too. Sebastian
it.
Stan.
Yeah. Neutral. I'm not in any of the fandoms of his, so I'm like, I don't have that like, special, like, yeah, he's an attractive
Connection.
person. Not my
Yeah.
thing. Like,
What about Jensen Ackles?
Oh, so I'm not a Supernatural fan. So not dislike, but I'm like almost 6 feet tall, and he feels like he's really short. So I don't think that's for me.
No,
He's
Jensen
not.
Ackles
Believe
is
it or not, he's
6'2".
not. Yeah.
Yeah, he's 6'2", and Jared Padalecki.
Okay, but then how tall is Jared?
We know this
Like
shit because we've gone to 8 supernatural cons between the three of us.
I love
Jared
that.
Padalecki is like 6'6".
Yeah, they're huge.
Giant.
And the guy that
Distorted
plays Castiel is 6 foot, and he looks super short in the show. So yeah, none of them are short. They're all big dudes, and
We love a tall. We love a tall.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's
Okay,
not hard to be
I'll
taller than
research
me.
it to him again.
Okay, let us know. Send us a message, hot or not. Okay, small town romance.
No.
No, yeah. Ben Barnes.
Give up.
Are you watching Shadow and Bone? Have you read it?
No.
Okay, I was not
That's-
into him until he was on this show. So
Yeah,
he's
great
the
job.
villain.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He's a villain. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
maybe
That helps.
Changes things a little bit.
Interesting.
Okay.
It'll be on my. I'm going to note that, and I'll get back to you guys when I get to Imaginarium. I'll let you know. What I'm doing.
You're just going to come up and be like, here's my list of hot people. Okay, guys. Okay, Timothy Chalamet.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, he is beautiful. That's a good way to put it.
Beautiful. I wouldn't say he's hot. I would say he's beautiful, and I really appreciate him.
Okay. Someone that you find attractive being sweaty after a workout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're a person I'm in, like my husband's big into lifting, and so I like that. You know, and I write Dom in the book. Dom works out in the book lots, and he's like total muscly Celtic rugby daddy, so
I'm into
we
that.
like it.
I'm into it. Okay, The Rock.
I just want to hang out with Dwayne and his kids, but I don't think he's hot.
Yeah, we hear that one a lot.
Yeah.
That's funny. Janelle Monáe.
Beautiful, great, hot.
Yeah. Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pretty hot.
Miles Teller.
Who's that?
He's in the new Top Gun with the stash. He's also in the Divergent movies, isn't he?
I'm gonna have to Google that one too.
Yeah. All right, we'll pass on that one. Second
Yeah.
Chance Romance.
Yeah, if it's done right.
Yeah. Kristen
it's done
Stewart.
No, although honestly, maybe contrary opinion, I loved her in the Diana movie. I thought she was great.
People loved that movie.
Yeah.
They really did. Yeah.
She got the facial features like I don't know. Whereas like in Twilight, I see so many reels about people making fun of her facial features. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty terrible. But
Well, in
I don't know,
Twilight, she just needs to the director need to go up and just lift up her chin and tell her to shut her mouth. Like that's really the only problem. Sorry if you're listening
less
to this,
blinking.
Kristen.
Blink like 30% less. And I've been to Forks, so I am in Canada, but we went down. I've driven through Washington State down to Oregon and stuff, and I've been to Forks.
Is it pretty cool? Did you think it was
No.
worth going?
It was gross.
Guys, you don't have to go. You're good.
It
You're
literally couldn't be much further from us. So we're not
I
gonna
know. Yeah. It's,
No, like don't spend the money.
go. Okay, good to know.
All right.
Thank you for
Go
releasing
to
us
Seattle
from that.
instead. It's way more fun.
Okay, so we know we're going to get to see you at Imaginarium. I can't wait. And you're on one of the panels with us, right?
I am.
I
Yeah.
can't- We have some really fun stuff planned. I can't tell you anything, but it's going to be really, really fun. What
I'm
other?
stoked.
So you're doing that and a Polycon. What other events or projects do you have going on this year?
So a couple things I have going on. Obviously, the audiobooks are being developed. I'm working with an illustrator out of Montreal to do some character art because that's popular and she does really beautiful stuff. She's done a bit of work actually for Katie Robert. Her name is Daria Rembrandt. And I'm also working on a it's kind of top secret, but I can give you some hints. I have a lot of other hobbies, and one of my hobbies is quilting, and there's a magic quilt in my books.
Nice.
So I'm working on a creative project around that. That will be launched later this year before book 3. And book 3 should be out in the new year. I'm not done it yet, but we're working on it.
That's okay. That's all right. How can we best support your work?
Oh, reading, leaving reviews. The audiobooks are really important to me, just with the linguistics background, but also, I was in the trenches as a mom with kids, and that's how I read.
Mm-hmm.
And how I stayed connected to reading and feels really important to me accessibility wise for lots of folks to do audiobooks. So, if people want to dive, and that's what I'm going to be promoting the most at a Polycon and the Imaginarium is the audiobooks. So
Awesome.
that would be the
Well, I can't wait
the
to
avenue.
hear those.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that's how I want to digest
Frankie did.
these. Yeah.
See, I'm not an audiobook person. I must have ADD like really bad because I can't like focus. But I want.
Oh well, I am neurodivergent and I love the audiobooks.
See, I can't ever like. I feel like I'm constantly like I'm not getting it all, and it gives me anxiety. And so I really want to love them though. So maybe yours are the books that are going to get me into audiobooks.
Frankie did such a great job, and she's got this like, I don't know, just the way she delivers it is so clear and like evocative, and yeah, she's rad. Yeah.
Well, tell our listeners where they can find you online.
If you go on my website, kategately.com, that's sort of the hub for like anything you need to find about me or what I'm doing. I'm obviously on YouTube. Instagram is where I do most of my social media and marketing, or if you want to engage with me, it'll be on Instagram. I am not on Facebook. I left Facebook.
A lot of authors have. I've noticed that. Yeah. But then I
can't do comment sections.
Yeah. The only thing I've noticed authors are still doing on Facebook is that's where they will still have their ARC groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought about that. I think I would probably migrate it more to Patreon or like Substack
or Discord. A lot of people are using Discord now. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never really done Twitter. Twitter's sort of a part of it takes a certain type of writer to hang out on Twitter, and I commend them. They are ironclad, and I'm not. I'm very sensitive. So Twitter's not for me.
Yeah, it's never been my thing.
I do have TikTok, but I don't use it. I just repurpose videos. So I'm there because I have to. I have a Pinterest that is like very baby and not taking off, but I actually love Pinterest. When people started following it, I would.
Ooh, I want to follow. I'll come follow your Pinterest. I love Pinterest.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If people are following, I'm very motivated. I'm just like,
okay.
Really following me, so,
I'm gonna message you and be like, Kate, you've not posted this week. I need to know what's in your world.
Do it. I mean, that's a rabbit hole.
We'll be your accountability.
Are you on Pinterest? Is it at author Kate Gateley, or is it just Kate Gateley?
It's the same as Instagram, so Kate Gateley author. Yeah.
Kate Gateley author. Okay.
Yeah, they should all be the same. I think I got my actual name on YouTube, so I'm Kate Gateley on YouTube without author.
So you've listened to our podcast before, so you know that we end every podcast with our nerdiest thing of the week, and so we'd love for you to share your nerdiest thing of the week.
My nerdiest thing of the week is I hatched goslings on Sunday, and I am absolutely geeking out, and I'm their mummy, and they cry when I don't hold them, and it's very. I don't know if that's nerdy or just. Three. I've got 3.
Oh my gosh, how cute!
Yeah, they're Toulouse, so they're the big. They'll be like 40 pounds and on the ground, gray ones. But right now they're very tiny.
So, did you have goslings on purpose? I don't even know how you would breed a bird, but like,
I incubated them, so I got them from a farmer out in Alberta. They mailed them to me, not under me. No. I'd like to sit still for a month. I maybe would finish this 3rd book if I could sit still for a month. No, and they're very sweet. And they're hard to hatch. And they sent me 7 and they came. It was cold. It was still really cold up here. And we're warm on the island, but the prairies are freezing still. And I wasn't sure how many I'd get. And I got 3. And I think I've got a gander as a male goose. I've got a gander and I think 2 goslings or gooses. So hopefully I can make more.
I love it. Yeah. You're like, here, you guys go on a date. Here's some soft music.
Oh, he's already like breeding them. He's like 3 days old. He's like
really?
So it's very romantic. Yeah,
typical
really
man.
Yeah. Well, Kate, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us. This has been really, really fun.
Yes.
It's been great to talk to you.
I loved it.
And we'll take you out for dinner in DC. That sounds like
please take me under your wing. Be my mommy goose.
You can be our gosling.
Yeah. Oh, believe me. Like they always say they went and did a con without me last year, and they're like, we kind of needed you for social lubricant. Because I'll be the one at the end of the day, like on the table, going, "Who's going out for drinks?"
And Whitney and I would look at each other like, "Let's go back to bed."
Yeah, let's go lay down.
I'm very easily coerced into fun.
Well, so are they. That's why it works.
Yeah. You just can't leave us to our own devices.
Good.
Well, this was a blast. Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll see you, gosh, in like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
5 weeks.
Soon, right? Like yeah. Thanks for having me. This was an awesome surprise and so fun.
Send us pictures of the goslings, please.
I will. Yeah. I've been posting a bit in my stories, but I'll post a bit more.
All right. Can't wait.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Have a good night.